It feels like forever since I last recorded one of these, even though it's only been a couple days. And I know we were getting into like a coast mode essentially, and that's still true. But this episode, things kind of ramp back up again, surprisingly. Not initially, but it gets a little crazier as it goes on. And now, obviously, we still have a lot of chores we gotta do, and like today is our last day we can grow foraging stuff. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna just plant one big crop of fall forage, just to kind of get the last few levels we can potentially. And then just some other little tiny chores, like this is stuff you'll be doing essentially every week, right? You're still gonna be expanding your oak resin forest if you want, and just at least harvesting the oak resin. And then this will become starfruit sooner than later, but for now it's just fall forage still. And again, I know I touched on that last time, but I decided to abandon the winter fall forage like strategy, so it's really not particularly useful, but I kind of like having my skills as high as possible. And so that's what we're doing. And then we're going to finally switch over our greenhouse to be a little more efficient and have the actual iridium sprinklers. But the reason this episode gets a little more interesting again is because we're going to finally get the Nautilus shell from Demetrius, which means our priorities kind of changed a little bit earlier than we thought, about a week earlier, because we need to get into Ginger Island now and kind of start thinking about like what that's going to mean, how we're going to split our time. And Ginger Island is not something that's really mentioned in like the guide so far, or at all. Basically this entire min-max run is based on patch 1.4, which is before Ginger Island even existed, so there's no mention of Ginger Island at all in the guide, and it's not something that I have a specific route for. I basically just, once I unlock it, I kind of neglect the farm a little bit more in a certain way, but I still will process all my stuff, but I'll kind of stop doing like winter crops, and I guess that's really it. Once you have everything in motion, you don't have a lot to do on the farm aside from harvesting and planting like 3 times a month or whatever. So I mean, nothing really massive changes, but we won't be spending as much time here, and the next week or so will be kind of a little more intensive while we try to unlock some stuff. But mostly for now, we're just trying to make sure we have enough like hardwood and all the materials needed to unlock the island. I guess technically I don't actually know that I have Ginger Island unlocked yet in this episode, but I have been visiting the secret woods once in a while to chop down stumps. I've been growing hardwood here at the farm and basically doing all this stuff the entire time just so I have hardwood saved up for Ginger Island. And that's something I haven't mentioned at all, but I probably should have. It's a good idea to keep a lot of hardwood on you all the time, like 200, because that's how much you need to get the boat rolling. Which is why I use like the tree fertilizer on it and visit the secret woods all the time. You can get like a max of 12 a day if you don't have trees. So you need, like 20 days worth of hardwood, plus whatever stuff is laying around on your farm. And yeah, we're also going to change some of our skills too. Once we harvest our final batch of pumpkins, I don't know if that's going to be this week. I don't think it is, but maybe next week. We'll change our skills so we can actually sell all the hardwood for once. Or not hardwood, the starfruit wine. But yeah, so I don't know when we actually get the Nautilus shell. I know we get it this week, so we can finish everything out. But again, that's like the last thing we're waiting for. We don't need anything else. And then we'll kind of transition from purely errands to a more stressful time. Like that first couple days in Ginger Island is pretty rough sometimes, depending on if you have a route in mind or not, which I sometimes do, but it's nothing set in stone. A lot of the time, Ginger Island is based really heavily on luck. So if you have a really lucky day, you'll spend more time in the volcano mines, whereas if you don't, you'll just do other menial stuff on the farm, like getting it set up or the other puzzles and whatnot. And yeah, so we're also still going to be buying a ton of resources and continuing to upgrade our sheds and stuff. It's nothing, again, just nothing that you have to do, but just kind of the way I've decided to start playing it. I'm doing a playthrough now, I think I've mentioned it a couple times now, where I start in year 2 essentially. And the resource prices being nearly double is going to be one of the biggest problems. Because I'm going to have to min-max like way more aggressively on that file than this one. And I don't have the option to really buy stuff, or if I do, it costs a lot more, so that's kind of a whole new problem that I was not anticipating. That and the whole run is really, really, really challenging. Like trying to balance like skull caverns dives as well as getting your friendship levels high enough. It's just really, really rough. Each day is like 10 resets minimum. And on top of that, I'm not even sure if I'm going about it in the right way because it's not like a pre-routed run, which it could be. I could have gone through and routed it all out, but I think it's a little bit more interesting to do it on the fly. And the way I'm doing it is kind of weird anyway. Essentially, I sleep for 100 days, and then when I wake up, I give myself the last 12 days of winter to prep for an additional year trying to get perfection. So essentially it started out as 100 days sleeping, 12-day prep, and then the full 4-month perfection run. And I don't know if it's possible or any of that stuff, but I think it is. And I'll get into more detail once I start posting the video, or once I make the videos. I haven't actually made any of it. I've just played a few days. And some of the harder things, like initially, are I have to get the legend. I need to catch the legend on first spring. I need to basically get everything for cooking and everything for crafting as each month goes on. And so it's kind of hard to keep track of all that stuff, as well as make sure you don't miss anything. Because if you miss something in a month, you don't have another month to go back. You can't miss recipes, really. You really can't miss birthdays. Like, there's just a lot of stuff that you'll have to reset your entire day if you miss it. So it's definitely the most stressful playthrough I've ever played. Not that I still enjoy it. It's just a lot more unforgiving, I guess, than this is. Where like right now I'm just spending my whole day making my duck area nicer and buying extra ducks, So it's kind of a different world there. It's kind of a nice change of pace, and I'm also playing with like animation canceling, so it speeds up everything a little bit more and gives me that little bit of a leg up that I don't have in this run, so that should make it easier. But I don't know, it's going to be a very tight run, because overall you need 13 million gold minimum to buy all the obelisks and the gold clock, as well as full hearts with everybody. And then there's also some RNG with I don't know, there's just some RNG that can go poorly, so that isn't so great. But either way, we'll see where we end up with all that. Hopefully the run goes well enough that I end up actually pursuing the full series. So dang, I guess it must be the very last day that we get what we need from Demetrius. And we may not even, I think we go to Skull Caverns once this week. Like that's how infrequently we're going now, which is fine. You can go more if you want. It's just, it's not as necessary unless you're really trying to stretch that money. Because each run can net you like, 100 or 200 grand. So if you're short on your goal by that much, you might want to throw in a few extra Skull Caverns runs. But like I said, I'm trying to play this a little more casually at this point, or a little more like a normal way you'd play Stardew, I think. And the only thing I did do is decide to focus more on the Burglar's Ring, because I really want that for Ginger Island. So I spent a good chunk of this day. It's hard to see where I edit the change. Or no, it's not. I guess it's right there. And I spent a bit of time doing that. And just like farming them over and over again, the dust sprites. So I can get the Burglar's Ring. And so I can get the shards a little quicker. As well as like dragon teeth and stuff like that. And so yeah, all the time I spent in the past like going into the mines for a little bit just to kill dust sprites, turns out it wasn't a complete waste of time, which is nice. And that Burglar's Ring, I don't know, it's probably one of the most helpful items the earlier you can get it, because you get the same kind of snowball effect with the, what are they called, solar essences, where you can make mega bombs much faster and use mega bombs much faster, and then go a lot faster in the Skull Caverns. So it's something I think I regret not getting earlier. And in fact, I've already gotten it in the newest playthrough, only like 6 days into the run. So I'm kind of changing some priorities, taking some of the stuff I've learned from this run and putting it in that one. But overall, that's one of my main focuses. And we'll have pumpkins ready, I think. Man, we'll have pumpkins ready tomorrow, but we're probably not going to even harvest them until the very last day of fall, depending on luck. If we have good luck days, we'll ignore the pumpkins. If we have bad luck, we'll harvest them. But we just have these weird patches right now because of the axe situation before. So I kind of want to wait for them all to grow for higher chances of big pumpkins, and then harvest them all in one go. And you can see I got tons of ducks now. I think I bought like an extra 8 of them or something. Also, that was the mail. I had to reset this day a couple times because Demetrius sent me mail, but he kept sending me breams. And if you just reset the day, the gift he sends you changes. So I just reset it until I got the Nautilus shell. And that was it. And we finally finished the community center, which is kind of a good, I think is a nice goal for any kind of run. I think if you're trying to get into more efficient runs, a year 1 community center is like the perfect intro to a more min-max focused run, because it's always doable, especially with the additional option to make community center completed year 1 guaranteed in the game creation screen. So I don't know, I think that's like the first step into going more towards a min-max route. And then yeah, we went into the Skull Caverns. We ended up having time. None of that community center stuff took very long, so figured why not. We have a ton of staircases. Or no, we don't. I thought we had like 120 of those things. Maybe that's next week. But we have a rock candy, and we have bombs, and we have good luck, so might as well take a dive. At some point I end up with like 2 rock candies, and maybe that's where I'm at right now, and that's why I used it, but I don't know, sometimes it's worth it just to take the dive. Like, we're down to 176. It's not amazing, but it's still pretty good. I mean, 300 iridium, so, you know, make an easy 150 grand or whatever that translates to. I don't think that's right. I would do the math, but every time I say I'm going to do the math, I end up not doing it, so I won't lie. And, actually, I'm going to do the math. 300 divided by 5 times 1500. Yeah, so it's only 90 grand, so whatever. I mean, it's a good amount of money, but not as much as a deeper run of a net. And I guess for some reason, usually I speed these up. I didn't speed this one up, but I think I'll just leave it that way. Just as a reminder of how slowly this usually runs. And yeah, it gives me more time to kind of talk a little bit more about prepping for the Ginger Island. I think in next episode we're going to rush to get there as quickly as we can. Sometimes it takes a little while for the first cutscene to occur, or like the letter for some reason. Like sometimes you don't get a letter from Willie telling you the back of the fishing shop is open for a couple days, so hopefully we get that right away. Because if we do, I think we have all the materials necessary, which again is 5 batteries, 5 iridium bars, and 200 hardwood. And as long as we have those, like tomorrow we can essentially go down there, unlock the back of the shop, repair the boat, and the next day it'll be fixed. But I can't remember if Halloween is tomorrow or the 28th, or whatever it's called, Spirit's Eve. So that might impact things and push it back one day, which is kind of unfortunate just because, I mean, that holiday doesn't start till the evening. We're not going to participate in it. And it just, all it does is delay us, but if that's the case, it's not that big of a deal. But once that happens, we'll kind of dive more into what we plan on bringing to Ginger Island. And then from there, I'm going to do a couple slower days in Ginger Island. Just because it's something I've never talked about before, and I'm going to show my, like, a more realistic view of my playthrough of it. So it's going to be probably just one day at a time again for a couple days or a couple episodes. Just so you can see how my mindset works when trying to do all the Ginger Island stuff. And that'll be next week or next episode, so see you later.